Multilingualism is more than the ability to speak multiple languages. It's a window into how languages shape our identities, how societies function, and how power circulates in a globalized world. In this video, we'll explore what multilingualism really means, how it works in individuals and communities, and why it matters for understanding sociolinguistics today. Let's begin with a basic definition. Multilingualism is the use of two or more languages by an individual or within a community. At the individual level, it can range from balanced bilingualism, where a speaker has near equal proficiency in two languages, to dominant bilingualism, where one language is stronger than the other. At the societal level, multilingualism refers to the coexistence of multiple languages within a nation or region. But here's where it gets interesting. Multilingualism isn't just about how many languages somebody speaks. It's about how those languages are used, when they are used, and for what purposes. It's about context, choice, and negotiation. And it's deeply embedded in issues of identity, social class, migration, education, and politics. In many parts of the world, multilingualism is the norm rather than the exception. For example, in much of Africa, people routinely speak multiple languages. A child might speak a home language with family, a regional lingua franca with neighbors, and an official language like English or French in school. This kind of multilingualism is functional, fluid, and dynamic. It challenges the traditional Western viewer's language as a fixed system tied to a single national identity. It also raises questions about how we define a language in the first place. Where do we draw the line between a language and a dialect? Between code switching and mixing? Between competence and performance? To understand these questions, we need to look at multilingualism through the lens of sociolinguistics. Sociolinguists study how language interacts with society, how language uses, reflects, and reproduces social structures, and how it can also resist or transform them. In multilingual settings, language is not just a tool for communication, it's a resource for constructing identity, asserting belonging, and navigating power. Let's take the concept of code switching, for instance. Code switching is when speakers alternate between languages or language varieties within a single conversation. Far from being random or deficient, code switching is often strategic. It can signal solidarity, mark social boundaries, or manage different roles and relationships. Consider a Spanish-English bilingual in the US who switches from English to Spanish when speaking to a relative. This switch might index intimacy, cultural identity, or a shared history. But the same speaker might avoid Spanish in formal settings to avoid negative stereotypes. This highlights the power dynamics embedded in language choice. Multilingualism can also be a site of linguistic inequality. Not all languages are valued equally. Some carry cultural prestige, economic capital, or official recognition, while others are marginalized or stigmatized. This hierarchy affects access to education, employment, and social mobility. The idea of linguistic capital, introduced by Pierre Bourdieu, helps us understand this. Linguistic capital refers to the value assigned to certain ways of speaking in specific markets. In a globalized economy, languages like English often dominate, leading to the marginalization of minority or indigenous languages. In education systems around the world, children may be forced to abandon their home languages in favor of a national or colonial language. This raises important questions about language rights and language preservation. UNESCO estimates that nearly half of the world's 7,000 languages are at risk of disappearing. Many of these are spoken by small, indigenous communities who face systemic discrimination. Linguistic diversity is under threat, not just from globalization, but from policies that promote monolingualism in the name of national unity. Yet multilingualism also offers resistance. Around the world, communities are engaging in language revitalization efforts to reclaim their linguistic heritage. From the Maori in New Zealand to the Sami in Scandinavia, indigenous peoples are using language as a tool of empowerment, cultural survival, and decolonization. Multilingualism also plays a crucial role in migration. As people move across borders, they bring their languages with them. diaspora communities often maintain heritage languages while acquiring new ones. This leads to complex linguistic repertoire shaped by family, community, school, and media. Children of immigrants often become translanguages, using elements of multiple languages fluidly to make meaning, rather than keeping them strictly separate. The concept of translanguaging has become increasingly influential in recent years. It challenges the idea that multilinguals operate with separate, compartmentalized language systems. Instead, it views all of a speaker's linguistic resources as part of one integrated repertoire. From this perspective, switching between languages is not a sign of confusion, but of creative and adaptive communication. This has major implications for education. Traditional language teaching often assumes a monolingual ideal, where students are expected to use only the target language. But research shows that allowing students to draw on their full linguistic repertoire through translanguaging practices can enhance learning, support identity development, and promote equity. At the policy level, debates about multilingualism continue to shape national identities and political agendas. Should a country have one official language or several? Should schools teach in the dominant language, the local language, or both? Should public services be offered in multiple languages? These questions are not just about language, they are about inclusion, citizenship, and social justice. In the European Union, for example, multilingualism is officially promoted as part of cultural diversity. Citizens are encouraged to learn 2 foreign languages in addition to their mother tongue. Yet in practice, English remains dominant, and minority languages still struggle for visibility. Similarly, in post-colonial nations, balancing the legacy of colonial languages with linguistic local realities is an ongoing challenge. Multilingualism also intersects with technology. Digital platforms have opened new spaces for multilingual expression, from WhatsApp chats to YouTube videos. Language practices online often reflect informal, hybrid, and playful forms of multilingualism that challenge traditional norms. At the same time, algorithms and interfaces tend to prioritize dominant languages, raising concerns about digital linguistic justice. Even AI reflects these inequalities. Most language models are trained primarily on English or other major world languages. This reinforces existing hierarchies and limits access to digital tools for speakers of under-resourced languages. So what does all of this mean for how we think about language in the modern world? First, it reminds us that multilingualism is not rare or exceptional. It is widespread, complex, and deeply human. Most people in the world speak more than one language, and they do so in diverse, context-sensitive ways. Second, it shows us that language is not neutral. Language use reflects and shapes social identities. It can empower or oppress. It can unite or divide. Understanding multilingualism means understanding the broader social, cultural, and political structures in which language is embedded. Finally, multilingualism challenges us to rethink our assumptions. Rather than seeing languages as bounded, countable entities, we can view them as dynamic practices shaped by history, migration, technology, and resistance. In a world of increasing mobility and interconnection, multilingualism is both a reality and a resource. Whether in classrooms, communities, workplaces, or online, recognizing and valuing multilingualism is essential to building more inclusive and equitable societies. So, the next time you hear someone switch languages mid-sentence, don't ask them to repeat themselves with a face of confusion or ask them to speak properly. Ask them what the switch means, how it works, and what it reveals about who they are and the world they live in. You might be surprised at what you discover.